Tirpitz was the heaviest warship ever built by a European navy during World War II. It was only 2,000 tons heavier than its sister battleship, Bismarck. The massive vessel quickly became a serious concern for Allied forces after it was commissioned. In February 1941, its mission was to cause destruction in the Baltic and intercept merchant ships supplying the Soviet Union. For nearly 4 years, British and Soviet forces tried to destroy Tirpitz, but more than 20 air and naval missions failed. It wasn't until November 1944 that the British carried out a bold operation, involving over 100 aircraft to finally sink the German battleship. Even then, Tirpitz did not go down without a struggle. When Hitler came to power in the early 1930s, Germany had already started rearming. Hitler embraced this fully and aimed to restore all branches of the military, including the Navy. The Kriegsmarine's first goal was to develop a small but capable fleet to rival the naval strength of Britain and France. Though it seemed improbable, German industry, backed by the Third Reich, began rebuilding from scratch. The Bismarck-class superbattleships, envisioned by the German leadership, were a direct reaction to the French Richelieu-class battleships. Commissioned in 1935, these in turn had responded to Italy's Littorio-class battleships, which Mussolini ordered to challenge Britain's naval dominance. Although the major powers after World War I had signed the 1922 Washington Naval Treaty to limit the naval arms race, few adhered to it. The treaty set tonnage limits for warships, but these were often modified to suit the interests of the victors. Bismarck and Tirpitz initially complied with the 35,000-ton limit, but later, upgrades pushed their weight above that threshold. After Japan exited the treaty in 1937, the limit rose to 45,000 tons, and all major nations seized the opportunity to expand their fleets. On April 1, 1939, Hitler introduced Kriegsmarine Chief Erich Raeder to the military staff during a gala aboard the new battlecruiser Scharnhorst in Jade Bay. At this event, Hitler also presented their latest and most powerful battleship, Tirpitz, named in honor of Grand Admiral Alfred von Tirpitz, who had served from 1898 until Germany's surrender in 1918. During the event, Hitler and Raeder discussed Plan Z, which aimed to grow the Navy to the point where it could rival the British and French fleets. Their vision included 10 battleships, 4 aircraft carriers, 15 pocket battleships, 250 U-boats, and over 100 destroyers and cruisers. The plan was possible, but would take time. With estimates placing its completion in 1948, Hitler was pleased, though he did not expect Britain or France to declare war after Germany invaded Poland. However, that's exactly what happened on September 3, 1939. At the start of the war, the Kriegsmarine was not ready for full-scale combat, and had no chance of matching the enemy navies in a traditional confrontation. Admiral Raeder's forces included only the 15-inch gun battleships Bismarck and Tirpitz, 3 pocket battleships with 11-inch guns, 2 heavy cruisers with 8-inch guns, 2 battlecruisers with 11-inch guns, 34 destroyers, and more than 60 U-boats. Still, the Kriegsmarine fought with full force, and both Bismarck and Tirpitz earned their place in history. Tirpitz weighed 42,900 tons when empty and reached 52,600 tons fully loaded. It measured 251 meters in length, had a beam of 36 meters, and a draft of approximately 10.5 meters. It was powered by a 160,793 horsepower geared steam turbine propulsion system made by Brown, Boveri, and C. The ship used 12 oil-fired Wagner superheated boilers, giving it a top speed of nearly 31 knots. Its main armament included 8 15-inch guns in 4 twin turrets, capable of reaching targets up to 35 kilometers away. 2 turrets were mounted at the front, and 2 at the rear, named Anton Bruno, Caesar, and Dora. Each turret had 360 mm thick steel at the front, and 220 mm on the sides for protection. The secondary armament featured 12 5.9-inch guns in 6 double turrets placed along the ship, along with 16 4.1-inch guns. In addition, it carried more than 28 anti-aircraft guns of 37 and 20 mm, which were later increased to a total of 58. Tirpitz was equipped with 4 Arado AR-196 seaplanes used for reconnaissance missions and anti-submarine warfare. One of its final upgrades included 8 above-water torpedoes mounted in 2 installations on each side of the ship. Its main belt featured 320 mm of steel armor to shield it from enemy attacks. Supported by 2 steel decks measuring 50 and 100 mm. Before being commissioned in February 1941, the Royal Navy attempted to destroy Tirpitz while it was still undergoing sea trials in the Baltic, but their aircraft failed to hit the target. After the sinking of Bismarck on May 27, 1941, the Kriegsmarine decided to restrict Tirpitz to operations in Norwegian waters, keeping it close to shore where coastal artillery and airfields could provide backup in case of battle. Tirpitz sailed to the Norwegian fjords in January 1942, with nearly 2,000 sailors and 100 officers on board. By that time, the British had already cracked the Enigma machine and could track the battleship's movements. In February, Tirpitz engaged in its first combat operation, a diversion to draw British ships away from the English Channel so the German fleet could retreat safely. This would be minor compared to what followed. In March 1942, the Royal Air Force carried out a series of unsuccessful bombing raids, losing over 10 aircraft while the Germans lost 3. After repeated failures, the British shifted tactics and sent a Frogman unit with 2 Mk1 Chariot torpedoes. The torpedoes broke free from their tow lines and never reached the target. On September 7, 1943, Hitler ordered Tirpitz and 9 destroyers to strike the Norwegian naval base at Spitsbergen and destroy Allied weather stations in the area. This was the only instance where Tirpitz used its main 15-inch guns in combat. The 50 shells it fired obliterated the installations, and German forces quickly secured the area. Several crew members received Iron Cross medals for their actions. Weeks later, the British deployed 10 X-class midget submarines to plant mines under Tirpitz. Only 3 breached the battleship's defenses, and all were destroyed by depth charges. Still, 2 mines inflicted damage on one of the ship's 15-inch guns, an oil tank, and 2 of its seaplanes. The flooding was contained, and the ship returned to Norway for repairs. By April 2, 1944. When Tirpitz re-entered combat service, over 100 British aircraft launched an attack and scored 15 hits at the cost of 4 planes. Around 500 sailors died, and the ship's superstructure was heavily damaged. In June of that year, further attacks were made, but Tirpitz remained afloat. Determined to end the threat once and for all. The British Admiralty tasked the Royal Air Force's Bomber Command with the destruction of Tirpitz. Bomber Command planned to use the newly developed 12,000-pound Tallboy bombs, known for their ability to penetrate reinforced concrete and steel. In September 1944, a group of 25 Lancaster bombers carrying Tallboys took off from a Soviet airfield in Yegor. One bomb struck the bow, went through the deck and keel and caused flooding, but the ship remained operational. Bomber Command was astonished at its survival. On September 29, another attack damaged the ship's rudder and shaft. The Germans built a large sandbank around the battleship in Tromsk to prevent it from capsizing. Despite the damage, Tirpitz remained combat-ready, and its crew expected another assault. That assault came with Operation Catechism on November 12, 1944. 30 Lancaster bombers, led by Wing Commander J.B. Willoughby and L.A. Williams, departed from Scotland and flew above radar detection range, only descending once Tirpitz came into view. The crew tried to contact Luftwaffe forces at Bardufoss for air support, but no German planes arrived. All anti-aircraft guns aboard Tirpitz, along with nearby coastal batteries, opened fire in defense. Nevertheless, 2 Tallboy bombs struck the deck. A yellow flash and a massive smoke plume over 100 meters high signaled that the ship's ammunition had detonated. This explosion was enough to doom the warship. Within 10 minutes. Tirpitz listed 60 degrees to port, and the crew began to abandon ship. Around 100 sailors trying to swim to safety were killed by debris from the detonation of a 15-inch turret. Out of the 1,200 crew members on board, only 82 were rescued after a salvage team cut through the hull to reach survivors. It took the British more than 20 missions to finally sink Tirpitz, a joint salvage effort by Norway and Germany. Began in 1948 and lasted nearly a decade before completion. Thank you for watching my video. Please subscribe to our The Black Vault channel to watch more content related to historic naval battles. Let us know in the comments below about other topics of your interest.